Dear viewers, welcome to the digital lesson of Maulana Azad National Urdu University. I am Dr. S.M. Fasiullah. In this lesson, we will discuss Introduction to Comparative Literature. Please note, this topic is a part of Comparative Literature course prescribed in MA English. In this topic, we will talk about history and origin of comparative literature. We will look into various definitions of comparative literature, and we will explore different schools of comparative literature. At the outset, let us keep in mind that comparative literature is an academic field of study that analyzes literature across cultural, linguistic, and national boundaries. It emerged as a discipline when European scholars like Johann Gottfried Herder and Johann Wolfgang von Goethe began studying literature in various languages, cultures, and times to understand the commonalities, differences, and influences across borders. Now, let us explore the history and origin of comparative literature. The term comparative literature initially appeared in the works of French humanist Michel Noël. According to Rodriguez Louis, comparative literature emerged in the 19th century alongside comparative law and comparative philology. He emphasized that comparative literature aims to identify commonalities among various legal systems, languages, and literary works. A journal of this subject was published by Hugo Mezel in Romania in 1877. The term gained prominence in English through the work of Hutchison Macaulay Posnet. He named his work Comparative Literature and published it in 1886. It should be noted that the concept of comparative literature emerged as a response to national literature. When the feudal order began falling apart in Europe during the 18th century, a new concept of nation emerged. This idea of a nation was very narrow. It meant single region, religion, race, language, literature, and culture. Subsequently, the concept of national identity became closely tied to national culture. In response, two new concepts emerged: comparative literature and world literature. National literature focused on a single nation's literature in one language, often implying that it was superior to others. However, as Europe was changing, people gained access to other countries' cultures and literatures through translations. Goethe, the European scholar who was exposed to Persian, Sanskrit, and Chinese works, believed that national literature would soon be replaced by Weltliteratur, that is, world literature. His student and friend John Eckermann noted the term Weltliteratur in 1827. Initially, both comparative literature and world literature began to be used interchangeably, but in practice they evolved differently. World literature became a collection of great literary works from different cultures, whereas comparative literature developed into a method for studying world literature. After this brief overview of the origin of comparative literature, let us look into various definitions of comparative literature. As a first thing, let's take Matthew Arnold, the British critic. In his inaugural lecture in Oxford in 1857, he stated, and I quote, "Everywhere there is connection. Everywhere there is illustration. No single event, no single literature is adequately comprehended except in relation to other events, to other literatures." In the same way, German comparatist Henry H. Remarque defines comparative literature as the study of literature beyond the confines of one particular country and the study of the relationship between the literature and the other areas of knowledge and belief. It is the comparison of one literature with other spheres of human expression. Our own Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak, the Indian American literary philosopher, states that comparative literature must always cross borders. In the same way, American literary historian David Damrosch argues that comparative literature centers on the analysis and comparison of literary texts, frequently spanning across languages and cultures. Now, prominent translation theorist and comparatist from Britain, Susan Besnet, asserts that comparative literature involves the study of texts across cultures, that is, interdisciplinary and that it is concerned with patterns of connection in literature across both time and space. In addition to these definitions, it can be argued that the comparative study of different literary traditions involves examining them together, often including aspects like translation, literary movements, historiography, critical traditions and poetics. In Europe particularly, each country had its own way of comparing similarities and differences in literature. The comparative study of themes is called thematology, of literary forms is known as genealogy, and of influences is called reception studies. Moreover, there are diverse approaches in comparative literature which are associated with three prominent schools in comparative literature. They are French, German and American schools. Let us understand them one at a time. In French school, scholars focused on the study of influence. It is based on the idea that a writer's work is shaped by economic, social and cultural forces around them. This view, influenced by positivistic philosophy, treated literary influence as a mechanical process, where scholars would trace what an author read and who they interacted with to understand how these factors shape their writing. Notable thinkers within the French school include Marcel Proust, Jacques Derrida and Roland Barthes. They explored semiotic, linguistic, philosophical, mythological and cultural dimensions within comparative literature. The German school is the second major approach in comparative literature. It flourished alongside the French school, spanning from mid-19th century to the period of Second World War. The German school emphasizes delving into the historical and cultural context of literary works. It also focuses on the comparative study of themes, that is thematology. Among the prominent figures within the German school were Goethe, Peter Sondy and Friedrich Schlegel. The American context differed from the French and German reality. Unlike in France, the focus shifted from influence to reception. Therefore, the reader or receiver became more important than the influencers themselves. This shift was emphasized by the American school in the mid-20th century. Later, René Wellek addressed this change and discussed the crisis in comparative literature. The British, while not directly creating a specific school of thought, also contributed an idea known as placing. This concept involves comparing two works of traditions side by side to gain a deeper understanding of each other. These schools of comparative literature played a significant role in shaping the development of comparative literature worldwide. From the 1960s onward, comparative literature experienced significant growth and diversification. As a result, many academic programs in comparative literature were established globally, including in America, New Zealand and Europe. Interestingly, various African countries, India, China and Brazil have also embraced comparative literature to explore local traditions. Now let us summarize what we have learned in this digital lesson. We looked at history and origin of comparative literature, various definitions of comparative literature and different schools of comparative literature. We came to know that thematology, genealogy and reception studies are different approaches in comparative literature. Also French, German and American are prominent schools in comparative literature. For more information on this topic, you may refer the books shown on the screen. Thank you for joining us. We will be back soon with another topic.